Welcome back. This is episode 3 of the client trafficking model, Spy Sources. So far in the first 2 episodes, we've covered getting an idea of the biggest and baddest buyers, how to track them down, how to target them. Some great examples of how you can make fast money with this model, even if you're starting from scratch. And it's how you can start adding companies or pieces of companies to your empire. So in this episode, we're going to cover how to get those consumer and demographic lists after you know who you want. How do you go out and buy a list of buyers, basically. We're going to go over 10 ways. My favorites are number 1 and number 10. We're going to go over my favorites first and last. And remember, we have one final episode. It's coming up next. It's the 4th and last one. And we're going to tie everything together, show you how you can get everything done for free. That's next, but right now, we're going to get into Spy Sources. Alright, so here are 10 ways to get your research done, build your list, and stay light years ahead of your competition. Competition? Are you kidding me? Not with this stuff. Number 1, the SRDS LOLTTRFQI. It's just the SRDS. This is the standard rate and data service. This thing is a gold mine. It's basically a giant list of lists. You want to get a list of people who are buying books on retirement, plus size clothing, health magazines, whatever. This is the place where you can find them. It's one of the best places to buy a list of buyers. And by the way, just about every time you buy something, you're somewhere on that list as well. You're probably actually on several different lists, whether you know it or not. You are in that book. Every time I go through it or I show one of our kids how to do it, we walk away with brilliant ideas every single time. You will not go through the SRDS and not have at least one brilliant idea, although some of you are going to try. It's brilliant. It is incredible. Now, I don't recommend the online version. I like the physical version. It'll cost you about $500 to $1,000, but you can go to your local library, a builder branch near you, coming soon, or to a local government office and get to use one for free. The SRDS will blow you away. It's better than just about any type of research that I know of. And some of the examples we've used earlier, where people got lists of thousands of people who bought whatever they were selling or something close to it, this is how many of them did it. Whatever you want to sell, you can get in touch with people who buy exactly that. And you can add a whole bunch of other criteria to your list and your searches as well. It's awesome, and almost nobody does anything with it. And you can use one for free at your local library. If your local library doesn't have one, go to one that does. Somebody actually asked me that. I thought it was kind of an obvious answer. Just flipping through it is a great exercise. That's why I like the printed version better. Just going through it will give you great ideas on who you should be targeting, who you should be partnering with, and lists of buyers that you didn't even think existed. And when we get to number 10 on our list, there's an exercise, and you can do the same exercise with the SRDS. And I promise you, doing this exercise will make you brilliant, or more brilliant. Case in point. Number 2 kind of works along with number 1. Actually, it works with all of them. Number 2 is list brokers. These are people who can help you get specific lists or a combination of lists. So for example, if you wanted all the subscribers to Men's Health in your zip code who also buy leaf blowers, that'd be one example, you can get that list. A good list broker can make you millions. You can actually connect with them in the SRDS because it also contains a list of list brokers. And there's also huge sites like Melissa Data that can be helpful with this as well. But you want to be careful of the sites because some of the bigger sites like InfoUSA and Sales Genie are notorious for misleading and not delivering. Number 3 and number 4 have to do with magazines. 3 is the American Society of Magazine Editors and or the Magazine Publishers of America. They've changed their name to the Association of Magazine Media. Here's their site. They've got great data on circulation numbers, audience reach. Number 4, magazines.com. This is a great place to browse the titles and to find what magazines you want to know more about. Between these 2 sites, you can get an eye-opening experience on just how many different and focused magazines there are, and you also get a good idea of what the demographics are of their subscribers. This is great for getting brilliant ideas and getting highly focused on who you want to target. And there's a bunch of other sites for magazine research, like magportal.com, metagrid.com, mondotimes.com, and a bunch more where you can get all sorts of criteria and really hone down who you want to target. It's also a great exercise. Just browse through titles and pick 1 to 3 that your target would likely subscribe to. Because with just about any magazine, you can buy a list of all the subscribers. And when you start adding criteria like where they live or how much money they're making, you can build a really solid list. For example, you could list 5 magazines and tell your contact, like a list broker, that you want everybody in your zip code that's subscribed to at least 3 of those magazines and who makes $100,000 a year. Depending on the magazines you chose and the target you're going after, that'd be a pretty good list. You can also add criteria like length and recency. For example, you could go after a list of people that have been paying for a subscription to a bridal magazine for at least 2 years, or paying for 3 magazines for over 2 years. And there's that list out there, a list of people who have been paying for a bridal magazine for over 2 years. I mean, think about this, planning a wedding for 2 years. What does that tell you about the people on the list? If they had just committed, they could be divorced by now. Magazines are a great resource. Now we're on to number 5. Number 5. This has to do kind of with the last one with magazines. This is newspapers. The Newspaper Association of America, NAA.org. This works just like with the magazine examples, but often it's easier to get more localized, and you can get these papers as an additional criteria search. So for example, let's say you want gun owners 45 years or older who also subscribe to the Wall Street Journal and live in a certain zip code, you can get that list. Newspaper demographics not only help with targeting, but when you go after target publications and newsletters, you can get even more specific and more focused, just like magazines. Number 6 is something a lot of people have heard of, but not enough people take advantage of. Nielsen ratings. You've probably heard of this. There's Nielsen Online Media Net ratings. It's very helpful for online research. I also recommend using this with number 7, which is radio research group Arbitron.com. We've also used them with the newer group Andomedia.com, which tracks a lot of the same materials Nielsen and Arbitron do, but they're more focused with online audiences. Just tracking the information they get is a great lesson. And too many people think that these are only for big companies and it's just out of their league. That's not the case. And as you've seen, you can profit handsomely with the information they have. So when you have a certain type of criteria, if you did nothing else, you can just watch these groups, pay attention to their metrics and their reports, and they'll tell you where they think your best people are. Number 8 is online research. You can use Google AdSense, Overture, Bing, MSN. You can create an advertising account on each of these sites for free, and when you do that, you're going to have killer access to some of their research tools. It's all free, so you might as well do it. Another great site is Amazon.com. Just search for books about your target topic and see what others are buying, what kind of comments they're leaving, and what the top reviewers are buying and saying. One concept that we've trained people with that's led to incredible success is interviewing the top reviewers for a certain series of books and finding commonalities among the top reviewers. Almost nobody does it, and you can get priceless data by finding out what these people have in common aside from the passion about your topic. Another great source is going after targeted and high traffic blog. This is a great resource. You can use sites like Blogger and Technorati to help tell you what the top blogs are in a given market and what else people are interested in. We're going to go over more examples of how profitable blogs can be in the next episode. There's also other sites like Keyword Spy, Traffic Spy, Market Samurai, but for right now, let's move on to number 9. Just ask. Ask the business owners, ask the clients, ask anybody. Take the people who buy the most at the highest prices and most frequent. And when you do find them, just ask them. You'll learn more. Just the process of asking will make you learn more. Just start asking people what they have in common with others. When you see an ideal buyer, ask them what else they do. And realize that as you do this, you're going to run circles around everybody. And you yourself will become a gatekeeper. As you do this, you're going to be the one that people come to, which is great, but it is not as cool as one of my favorites, and that's number 10. All right, we're going to calm down for a second and make sure you're ready. This is one of my favorites. Are you ready? Are you? Just use a phone book. This one is so overlooked. I want to slow down and make sure we cover this correctly. Here are 3 ways that your phone book will not only make you smarter and richer, but better looking as well. These exercises can change your life. These are old exercises we used to use when we cold call. There's several versions of this that really help you build your skill set. The first exercise is to take a phone book and open to a random page and pick a company. Then spend 3 minutes and think about all the other companies in the ads that they should partner with. Where do you think their biggest and baddest buyers would be? Who do you think they are? What kind of list should they be going after? Just going through this exercise, like I said, will make you smarter. The second exercise, open the phone book to a random ad, and then open the phone book to another random ad and find some connection. So what would, for example, a dentist and a florist, what would their biggest and baddest clients have in common? How could they work together? Remember, there's always a connection whether you see it immediately or not. So getting better at making these connections, or getting better at making connections in general, is the definition of intelligence. So this will actually make you smarter. Number 3, pick a random ad. Now do the same things we just talked about. Think about who they should be partnering with, pick another ad, see how they could partner with that random ad. But in this third example, call them up and find out what they think. This can put money in your pocket today. One of my favorite examples of this is Darren. Remember from earlier? He was the same young badass we talked about earlier when he worked with the gyms. He wanted a challenge. So he picked up a phone book and opened up to a random page and started working with gardening centers. He knew nothing about this. He called them up and found out that their best clients were schools who bought trees in bulk. So he worked with a few gardening centers, then he used them as leverage to get in touch with schools and vice versa. Just from doing this, he had cash in his hands in less than 48 hours. Now before I tell you his numbers, I want to remind you and your potential lawyers that Darren was a die-hard student and really took this stuff serious. So when I tell you that he did over $4,000 in 2 days, I should remind you that none of this will work in your area, that your business is different. Think about that, 0 to 4 grand in 2 days. No endorsements, no business planning, not much planning in general. Just pure badassery. By the way, he took that same model and worked with a taxi cab service and did over 5 grand a day in a completely separate, unrelated field. Hey folks, I just want to take a quick second and tell you about a project that my friends and I have been working on. On our team, we believe that one of the biggest challenges in the world, the one challenge that when fixed will solve almost every other problem, is education. All while getting better and better at making money and buying and selling companies and real estate creatively, the way that we train people to do. Now this isn't for everybody, and I want to make sure we invite the right people, the right kind of people. Episodes are just the tip of the iceberg and the kind of training that we do. So if you want to make friends, build your empire, build your skill set, and running circles around your competition, you should go to WeBuildEmpires.com. When there, you can see if you're a good fit for our community. See you there. And that does it for this episode. Stay tuned for the 4th and final episode in this series, Total World Domination. We'll see you then. Thanks again, and God bless.